Growing up alone is often misunderstood. People might assume that if you spent a lot of time by yourself as a child, something must have been missing. Maybe you were lonely. Maybe you struggled to connect. Maybe you were forced to grow up too quickly. But psychology suggests something very different. Many people who grew up alone develop strengths that others never had the chance to build. Quiet environments, fewer distractions, and more time with your own thoughts can shape a mind that is deeply reflective, independent, and emotionally aware. In fact, research in developmental psychology shows that solitude during childhood can strengthen self-awareness, creativity, and emotional resilience. So if you grew up spending a lot of time on your own, you may have developed qualities that are incredibly powerful today. Here are 5 psychological strengths many people develop when they grow up alone. Number 1, you learned how to enjoy your own company. For many people, being alone feels uncomfortable. Silence feels awkward. They constantly need background noise, social interaction, or distraction. But if you grew up alone, you likely became comfortable with solitude very early. Psychology shows that people who are comfortable being alone often develop stronger self-reflection skills. Instead of running from their thoughts, they explore them. Think about it. Maybe as a child, you spent hours imagining stories, building things, reading, drawing, or simply thinking about life. While other kids depended on constant social interaction, you built an inner world. That inner world becomes a powerful resource as an adult. You don't depend on others to feel complete. You can enjoy a quiet evening, work independently, and think deeply about your goals and values. Solitude for you is not emptiness, it's space. Number 2, you developed strong emotional independence. When children grow up surrounded by constant attention and validation, they often learn to rely on others for emotional stability. But growing up alone can teach something different. Research in psychology indicates that people who spend more time self-regulating their emotions during childhood often become more emotionally resilient adults. You had to learn how to calm yourself down. You had to figure out your feelings without always having someone there to guide you. Maybe you learned to sit with your emotions, to process them quietly, to think through problems before reacting. That builds emotional independence. Instead of being overwhelmed by every difficult moment, you developed the ability to pause, reflect, and adapt. It doesn't mean you never needed support. It means you learned how to stand on your own feet emotionally. Number 3, your imagination became stronger. When children have fewer external distractions, their minds often become more creative. Psychological research shows that boredom and solitude can stimulate imagination and problem-solving abilities. When there were no friends around, no constant stimulation, and no endless entertainment, your mind had to create its own stimulation. Maybe you invented games. Maybe you imagined entire worlds in your head. Maybe you spent time observing people, noticing small details others ignored. Those experiences train the brain to think creatively. As an adult, this can show up as strong problem-solving skills, original thinking, and the ability to see possibilities others miss. Your imagination didn't disappear, it evolved. Number 4, you became more observant of people. When children spend a lot of time around groups, they often participate constantly. They talk, play, and move quickly through social experiences. But when you grow up alone, you often spend more time observing, and observation is one of the most underrated psychological skills. Research suggests that quiet observers often develop higher social awareness because they pay closer attention to patterns in behavior, tone, and emotion. Maybe you noticed how people's moods shifted. Maybe you could read subtle facial expressions. Maybe you could sense tension in a room before anyone said a word. These observation skills build emotional intelligence. You learn how people behave, how they communicate, and what they might be feeling beneath the surface. And that understanding can become a powerful advantage in relationships, leadership, and communication. Number 5, you built a deep sense of self. When people constantly adapt to social groups, they sometimes lose touch with who they are. Their identity becomes shaped by expectations, trends, and peer pressure. But solitude gives something rare, time to know yourself. Psychology shows that self-reflection is one of the key foundations of a strong identity. When you spend time alone, you naturally begin asking deeper questions. What do I like? What matters to me? What kind of person do I want to become? Instead of simply copying what others were doing, you had space to develop your own thoughts, interests, and perspectives. That builds authenticity. And authentic people tend to make decisions with more clarity and confidence because their identity isn't constantly shifting based on outside influence. So if you grew up alone, it doesn't mean you were missing something. It may mean you were building something quietly. You were building independence. You were building awareness. You were building resilience. And you were building a relationship with the one person who will be with you your entire life, yourself. Of course, growing up alone may have had difficult moments. Everyone needs connection, and loneliness is real. But your story is not defined only by what was absent. It's also defined by the strengths you developed along the way. Your ability to sit with your thoughts, your emotional resilience, your creativity, your observation skills, and your strong sense of self. These are not weaknesses. They are quiet strengths. So if you recognize yourself in this video, take a moment to appreciate how far you've come, because sometimes the people who spent the most time alone growing up are the ones who understand themselves the most, and that understanding can become one of the most powerful advantages in life. If this video resonated with you, make sure to subscribe for more psychological insights about personality, human behavior, and the hidden strengths many people overlook. And remember, sometimes the quietest childhoods create the strongest minds.